This episode will be completely taken out of context. Welcome to the Fact Check This podcast.
Alright, Fact Check This podcast, episode 56, and I should really put together a blooper reel of all the times that I try and fail to start one of these. Golly, let's take 3. And I think I'm off to a good start this time, for a change, maybe. So, as promised, I said I was going to take a dig into Joe Biden and just how, as if I haven't spent enough time over the past, oh my gosh, I can't believe that we're only 2.5 months into this presidency, and like it's just a non-stop roller coaster of holy shit. Like, I'm just going to like read straight through some headlines here, and I don't think I'm going to do a part 2 on this one. Like, it's just going to be a straight through. I'm going to talk about the dumb shit that's going on with the whole Biden administration. So Biden restores $200 million in U.S. aid to Palestinians slashed by Trump. So, you know, if you were hoping for less foreign aid and less wasting of your tax dollars, yeah, go ahead and chalk that one up as a loss. Not going to happen. Biden eyes Russia retaliation after meddling and hacking review. So apparently the Russian hackers are still going to be like the thing that they run on. And Biden has been doing a fabulous job of pissing off all of the other world leaders. Like, Trump was supposed to be the one that started World War III, and instead we've got Biden talking shit about Vladimir Putin, and now gonna be targeting Russia for retaliation over some dumb shit. Because I mean, that's what it boils down to. Like, there's nothing here that's like legitimately, has any security concerns for the U.S. Like, this is all just dumb shit. And then he's also been like getting into it with China and starting crap there. You got Lloyd Austin saying that China has been ramping up their military spending and tech over the last several years, and so because of that, we need to ramp ours up exponentially more to counter that. Except that as a country, we spend more on our military and defense budget than like the next 8 countries in the world combined. Like, China's at the top of that, and their annual defense spending is like maybe an eighth of what the U.S. spends annually. Not to mention the fact that China is very much, militarily speaking, they keep to themselves, whereas we are like out here playing world police. There's no reason to ramp up any fucking thing. It's just more of a waste of money, as if we don't waste enough money as it is. Which that gets back to Lloyd Austin. I mean, of course Lloyd Austin is going to suggest that we need to ramp up military spending, because that just pads his pockets all the more. Like, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I'm aware, he has not given up any of his holdings with Raytheon. Like, he may not be on the board because he's the Secretary of Defense, but I'm pretty sure he didn't like cash out his holdings or his stocks or anything. Like, so as long as they keep getting these massive contracts and making more money, that just adds to his pocketbook, right? Like, can we talk about the real conflict of interest that's going on here? Because there was so much talk about Trump's conflicts of interest that were complete bullshit that amounted to nothing. This guy's like raking in millions upon millions off of pushing for more war. It is, oh man, God, I can't even start to fathom how this is like acceptable. But it gets brushed under the rug. Like, does anybody if anybody's listening to this, did you know about any of that? Like, have you seen any of that making, mainstream headlines? I mean, it's a fucking outrage. And then we've got the border crisis. The ever expanding border crisis, where the Biden administration basically encouraged people to make a run for the border and to come to this country, only to shut it down and not let them in. Overfilling these facilities, opening up Japanese internment camps to put these migrants in. There are just rampant allegations of rape and sexual abuse, children being sexually abused, child sex trafficking going on, all sorts of horrible stuff out of these camps and in all of this stuff. And so the solution is to repair the wall that already exists. And now they're going to take it a step further, and they're actually considering building that wall. And there's an article from The Hill that explains why that's a good thing to build the wall. That the left spent 4 years saying Donald Trump was a racist for suggesting that we needed to build a wall, and 4 years fighting and preventing that from happening. But it's Joe Biden now, so obviously it's a humanitarian cause and it's a good thing, and it's about security and not racism, blah blah bullshit blah. So here we are, we have it's fucking clown world. We have gone from oh my god, you can go through the headlines and literally everything that the Trump administration tried to do for 4 years that was racist and horrible and just the worst possible thing ever. The Biden administration is now doing that and worse. And they're justifying why it's good, why it's a good thing, why that should be allowed, why we should be supporting that and getting behind it. Because obviously it's the right thing to do. It's about security. It's not about racism. Yeah, for 4 fucking years, it was only about racism. Fucking nonsense. And then speaking of security, now we've got the Biden executive orders on gun control, which I'm going to try not to downplay this too much, but for the most part, these executive orders are tightening regulations on ghost guns. I don't understand how they expect that they're going to be able to do that, because a lot of these ghost guns are homemade type stuff. They can say that they're going to put all these regulations on it, but they're not stopping any of this is more or less it's a brown or black market. It's not, it may not necessarily be entirely black market, but it's it's off the beaten path market type stuff that's going on for this. You can't regulate that. This is all a lot of this. Like I said, I don't mean to downplay it, because any gun control is unconstitutional. All gun control is targeted at minorities and women. And that's specifically who's affected by all gun control regulations. So a lot of this stuff, though, it's kind of nonsensical. It doesn't have a significant impact. It's a lot of the virtue signaling, saying things to placate to the extreme leftist base, but it really doesn't accomplish a whole lot. Treating pistols modified with a stabilizing braces as a mini rifle or some shit like that. Yeah. There's not a good way to enforce that, and there are going to be so many ways to get around that it really doesn't accomplish anything. trying to tighten up on the ghost gun stuff. Like, there's no effective way to do that in any, in any legitimately meaningful way. So, like, they're trying to draft some red flag legislation, but a lot of states, God, I wish the Republicans here would fucking grow a pair and do something about this. But there are a lot of states that are currently in the process of passing legislation to say anything that the federal government passes on this sort of stuff, we're just gonna ignore it. Like, we're not gonna abide by it anyway. And a lot of this stuff, like, if any of the stuff that's involved in his executive orders were to get scrutinized and be taken to the Supreme Court, it's not going to hold up anyway. There's no justification for this stuff. So a lot of it is just dumb bullshit. But at the same time, like, they're going to keep pushing, and like, everybody knew that that was going to be a primary sticking point for the Democrats and for a Biden administration, was to go after guns. But really, the going after gun stuff is just trying to expand the police state and give the police more power and take away the power of the civilians. I mean, that's what all of this stuff, any excess legislation or rulings on this sort of stuff, on any sort of thing that is, along these lines, it's only intended to remove the power from the people and give it to the ruling class. That's it. That's what it boils down to. And of course, there's the great part where Biden threw it out there that no amendment was safe from being overturned. So that means we can do away with the income tax and all kinds of fun stuff. I'm all for throwing out all of the amendments. Let's just do away with every last one of them. Let's throw out the Constitution, because they did that anyway, and just throw out government entirely. I mean, that's what we should be doing anyway. But then we get to the next big topic that I've been looking at today. This one's kind of dumb, but isn't this all dumb? So last week, just last week, Biden was ready to extend U.S. troop presence in Afghanistan, and like, part of the reason for all of this was because, and this is like super crazy. Part of the reason that they were looking to expand troop presence in Afghanistan is because the efforts in securing women's rights in Afghanistan would take a step backwards if we were to pull out now. Yeah. That's the whole reason we've been in Afghanistan for the last 20 fucking years, was women's rights. Damn, this is the dumbest shit I've ever fucking heard. Like, nothing about the war in Afghanistan has had anything to do with women's rights. And I guarantee you there has been absolutely no positive changes made in the realm of women's rights in Afghanistan because of U.S. troop presence there. Period. Hasn't fucking happened at all. I don't give a good goddamn what they say. It hasn't happened. If anything, if that has happened, it is because of an overall shift in the Muslim community in that direction across that entire region, and has nothing to do with the United States being there. It definitely has nothing to do with us, like, bombing, weddings and stuff like that. Like, so just go ahead and put that shit out of your mind. But then today I saw an article that said that Biden expects to have all troops out of Afghanistan by September 11th of 2021. Okay. So Trump tried to do that and got nonstop pushback that it would destabilize the region and we couldn't do it, blah, blah, blah. Like, it was such a terrible thing. And then, like, the generals and everybody in the military-industrial complex lied to him about what the actual troop totals are over there, and, like, didn't let it happen in any significant way, even when he did try to do it. But now, it's what, 8-10 months later, and they're going to actually do it because Biden says so? I'll believe this shit when I see it. Like, this is too unreal. I feel like we're living in like a simulation where, and anybody who's heard me talk about the multiverse theory and all of that stuff knows that I probably kind of think we live in a simulation anyway. But like, we're living in a simulation where, like, the joke in 2020 was, you know, it's some kid got a hold of the script and just started messing around. Like, I mean, we went from lock everything down, toilet paper shortage, everybody's got to wear masks, experimental vaccine, anal swabs, like, now just like the flipping and flopping back and forth. Like, pick a narrative and just go with it. Quit jerking us around. Fuck, I can't keep up anymore. Oh my god. And then like the last one I was gonna hit on is this the infrastructure plan. They're calling everything infrastructure. And none of the shit that I think I read it last week. It was like less than 10% of what the infrastructure plan is going to go towards is what is considered, like, classically considered infrastructure. The rest of it is loose interpretation of what they want to be deemed as infrastructure, which is really just a bunch of dumbass social programs to push forward more socialism and make people dependent on the state for everything that they have and do. And the way they're going to fund this is through all these tax increases, which are aimed at the wealthy, but anybody with half a fucking brain knows that the wealthy don't actually pay taxes. So here's an article from the National Review. The Biden plan will raise taxes on the middle class by a lot. Like, it's a lot. And that's the way all of these tax plans work, is they only serve to punish those who can't afford it anyway. All of the costs of these tax increases get passed all the way down the line. And so what you end up with is people who already can barely afford to pay their bills are now going to have less capital with which to pay those bills, and those bills are going up anyway. So, double fucked. While the people at the top, there's been several articles over the last week of how much money Elon Musk made in a day, how much money Jeff Bezos made in a day. And you could literally take all of the money they made in those days. You could literally take all of their net worth in its entirety, and you can't run this country for more than a couple weeks off of it. So it doesn't fucking matter how much money they make. The problem is how much money the government is spending. That's where the issue lies. Take that part of it away, give all of that money back to the people, you balance the playing field. But people think that, like, government is not in the business of balancing things, of making things even and fair. Government is only in the business of making things, of tipping the scales in their direction to make sure that they have control, they have the money, they have the power, and you have not fucking shit. That's how this works. That's the way this game is played. And if, I don't know how old you are, and I don't really care. At this point in your life, if you haven't figured out that the only thing the government does is serve itself and fuck you, you are blind or willfully ignorant. It's Time to get out of this rut. It is time to cast these motherfuckers off and move on with something else. I am what is known as a collapsitarian. I fully support and am looking forward to the day when the entire system crashes and burns and we can move on with life. If that makes me a bad person, I can live with that. But what's going on right now in this country? It is a fucking joke. And it has got to come to an end. We need secession. Mass on wide scale, like multiple states, large territories, break off and say we're done. We need civil disobedience at a national level. Everybody to just look at what's going on and say, no, I'm not going along with this. I think I saw it somewhere that if 3.5% of the population rose up, the government would not be able to stop us. 3.5% is not a very big number. It's well within reach. I'd like to be a part of that. I'd like to kick this shindig off the right way. I think we need secession. We need civil disobedience. We need to become ungovernable. We need to remind these motherfuckers that it's by the people, for the people, not them and us. Hope everybody has a good rest of your week. I will catch you next Monday. And in the meantime, keep testing the fact checkers, because they have proven themselves to be completely full of shit, and it is amusing to see the fact check articles that go on to basically say, yeah, what you said was wrong, but actually what you said was right. We just need to oh god, like, if you don't do it, every time you see an article for a fact check, actually open it up and read it in its entirety. Because usually if you can make it past the first paragraph of a fact checked article, what you'll find is in the meat of it, they actually say that either we don't know or you were right. And that's the whole reason I started doing this, is because I got fed up with the fact checkers like blocking my shit when I was very clearly right, and their very own fact checker admitted that I was right. But, you know, that's not what they put in the tagline for the fact check. So question authority. Test it. Find out what is right and what's wrong, and start to stand up against this shit. 3.5%. That's all we need. Let's get it.